Hey John, Jason here. Great to hear your voice again. I hope Substack ends up treating you well. It's always a pain in the butt jumping podcast hosts. And yeah, the sandbox generator is great. I gave it 2 thumbs up a while back. And I'm looking forward to new content coming out from you. So take care of yourself. Tell Hannah hi, and I'll talk to you soon.
Welcome back to the Red Dice Diaries. I'm your host, John, and before the intro there, we heard from Jason of the Nerds RPG Variety Cast podcast. I'll put a link to that down in the description. Highly recommend you check that out if you're interested in roleplay and roleplay adjacent things, and films and books, which are great as inspiration. Thanks very much, Jason. I'm very much looking forward to putting out future content. Now I've got a bit more time to do so. And speaking of Substack, and as some of my kind viewers have pointed out, I'm not the greatest when it comes to self-promotion. So, deep breath, here goes. I've recently moved my podcast over to Substack, and in addition to the podcast versions of released episodes, I also put out additional material there that you can get for absolutely free. If you subscribe, again free of charge, then you'll get an email every time I release something new. I've also got a blog, again linked down in the description, where I post. At the moment I'm creating a massive mega dungeon for the Dungeon 23 challenge. So, with that done, let's get to today's video. Okay, so you might have faced this problem, which is one I've come across a few times. You're just about to start a new campaign, and you've just got too many cool books that you want to use, and you can't decide which one to keep and which to save for the future. So, how about just using them all? Okay, well, not exactly all of them, since if you try and cram everything in, you'll just end up with a huge mess, which is fine if that's what you want, and if so, more power to you. You crack on and have fun. The rest of this episode assumes that you want something a little bit more structured, though. So here are 5 things to keep in mind when you're making a campaign mashup. Number 1. Decide from the start what you want the vibe of your campaign to be. Now this could be anything from exploration to dungeon crawling, strange aliens, horror, whatever it is that ticks that particular box for you and your players that makes you think, yeah, this could be a cool campaign. But whatever it is, having a strong idea in your mind about what sort of feeling you're going for in your campaign will put you in a good place when we come to point 2. Choose 2 or 3 bigger books that match your vibe or are vibe adjacent. Now when I say big books, I'm talking less about the size of the book and more the amount of materials that you're planning to use in your campaign. For example, I certainly wouldn't recommend trying to mash more than 2 or 3 campaign supplements together if you're planning to use a lot out of each book. You can always finesse some smaller stuff from other sources in later. Point 3. Read through your big books and select the elements in them that work with your idea for the campaign. If you try and use everything, you'll be back in mess territory. Select only the bits that work with your initial idea. For example, perhaps your theme is exploration, and one of the supplements has a great map, but the other has better rules and procedures for populating maps with point of interest, whilst another has game rules really focused on exploring. So, take the map from the first, the procedural generation from the second, and use the results from the third. Point 4. Ruthlessly prune anything that doesn't fit with your initial idea. Now, you're probably going to bring in some initial ideas later, so you need to make sure that you're only taking the stuff from your big books that works with your campaign vibe. Now, I know this may seem painful, but you should get rid of anything from your resource material that doesn't fit. You'll save yourself a lot of heartache in the long run, as well as bringing the list of resources down to a more manageable level. And point 5, make yourself a campaign folder, a wiki, or whatever you want to call it. Because it's very easy when you're running a mashup campaign to forget which bits of the multiple books you'll be using and to end up accidentally bringing in an element you didn't mean to, because there was a lot going on during the session and you were juggling source books. Whereas if you've got your campaign material collected in a wiki, a more traditional paper folder, or whatever, you can refer to that, and you'll only be using the bits that you intended to use in your campaign setting. Now, with PDFs of books being more easily available and more popular nowadays, it's easier than ever to just print out selected pages from a PDF, to copy them and paste them into a wiki, whatever you've got to do. I mean, even break out the old highlighter pens if you need to. I wouldn't really advocate highlighting your own books, but if you want to do that, go ahead. But certainly printing out pages from PDFs and either cropping out the bits you're not going to use or highlighting the ones that you are is a great idea. Just something so that when you flip through those pages in your campaign binder, you know what bits you initially plan to use. And now there's nothing to stop you changing your mind later on and bringing some more stuff in once your campaign has gained momentum. But for the start, it really helps to have a clear idea about which bits and pieces you're using in your campaign mashup, so that you've got a strong start and a strong idea of where you're going, and you don't find yourself getting muddled or confused during the game, which is certainly something I'm a little bit prone to when I do mashups. Certainly before I used a more structured approach, not having the greatest memory in the world, having something that I can just reach for and know that that's got the elements on it I need really is a boon during the game. So there you go. That was just a short video with 5 tips for running a campaign mashup. As I said at the start, if you're interested in our Substack, there'll be a link down in the description below, and also a link to our blog and various other stuff. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, please like, share, subscribe, tell a friend about the YouTube channel, the podcast, the blog, etc. That all is really appreciated, since it gets our stuff out there in front of more eyes. So until we see you again, take care, stay safe, and whatever you're playing, have fun. We'll catch you soon.